The question as to the impact of Girsa de Yankasa, the influence that which one has studied when one is young, or that to which one has been exposed during one's younger years has, is generally addressed in a rather subtle fashion in this week's Seder of Toldos. The Psukim tell us that when Esav became 40 years of age, he married two wives who weren't Jewish. And continues the very next pasuk, Vatihiyena moras ruach leYitzchak leRivka. These two wives of Esav were a source of moras ruach, were a source of bitter spirit to Yitzchak and to Rivka. Says the Sforno, Vatihiyena moras ruach hayu leta'ar v'sachin mikatzer ruach chaya Yitzchak leRivka. They were like a razor and a knife and a blade cutting into the flesh of Yitzchak and Rivka, severing the longevity of the years of Yitzchak and Rivka. And mind you that Yitzchak is 100 years old at this point in time, and Rivka, his wife, is 63 years old at this point in time. And the Sifsei Chachamim comes along and understanding Rashi's comment that the reason that they presented such a terrible sphere, not so much of influence, but rather impact upon Yitzchak and Rivka, was because they were engaged in Avodah Zarah. Says Rashi, Shehayu Ovdos Avodah Zarah. And comes along the Sifsei Chachamim and he says, why is it that though both Yitzchak and Rivka were certainly hurt by the actions of the wives of Esav, why is it that Yitzchak is mentioned first and Rivka is mentioned second? And suggests the Sifsei Chachamim, the reason is because because the pain that was caused to Yitzchak by the antics of these two daughters-in-law was far greater and more cunning and more severe than that which was caused to Rivka. Why so? Because in Yitzchak's home in which he was raised, in the home of Avram and Sarah, Yitzchak was never exposed to any form whatsoever of Avodah Zarah. Yitzchak was raised in a Torah home with all of its idealism, all of its priorities, all of its goals and aspirations. But Rivka, on the other hand, but Rivka was long used to Avodah Zarah, having witnessed it in the home of her father Besual and her brother Lavan. Now, mind you, Rivka, we said, is 63 years of age. She married Yitzchak when she was 3. So how many years did Rivka witness this in the home of her father and brother? 3 years. And from the age of 3 and onward till the age of 63, she was living in a home in which she herself was the cause of the fact that there was Ner Dolok Me'er Shabbos Anun Kasha Alahar, Bracha Masiya Be'isa, where all of the accoutrements of every Bayis Nema B'Yisrael were achieved through her efforts in combination with those of her beloved husband Yitzchak. The warmth of a Shabbos, the Ner Dolok that was kindled by the candles from one week to the next week, the Bracha Masiya Be'isa that was found in the bread, the Anun Kasha Alahar, the spirituality that was found in their home. For 60 years, that was her sviva, that was her sphere of influence. And yet the Torah tells us, because Rivka had become somewhat used to Avodah Zarah, somewhat inured during the first 3 years of her life. How long is the influence of that to which children are exposed in year number 1 and number 2 and number 3? Well, the Torah seems to tell us a lifetime. A lifetime. It certainly causes us to double think and rethink and be cognizant of what we expose children to in the years of their growth. Have a wonderful Shabbos.